Hey everybody, so still feeling a little bit sick, but getting back into it. I filmed all the content for this video 2 weeks ago before I got sick, and I had to leave it until now. So I'm trying a different format for my videoing where I'm going to talk about it and then show the clips in. So let me know if you like this or if you prefer to see everything done as it's going on. This last week I made 3 different coconut ice creams: vanilla, chocolate, and pumpkin. These are all dairy-free and sugar-free. I used this monk fruit from Costco, which is equal parts erythritol and monk fruit, which is just a 1-to-1 ratio to a normal like cane white sugar. So if you aren't concerned about sugar, you could just use that. I was doing a challenge last month where I wasn't eating any sugar, and so I started making things out of monk fruit, and it's actually an anti-inflammatory and doesn't raise your insulin levels. But the erythritol can give some people some slight stomach issues. Okay, so I just wanted to go over the recipes really quick. So they're all very similar. 1 can of canned coconut milk, and then 2.5 tablespoons of sugar for the vanilla and the coconut, and 3.5 tablespoons of sugar for the pumpkin. And that is because you're going to add half a can of pumpkin puree to the pumpkin ice cream. And this is a mistake I made, is I didn't add extra sugar when I made the pumpkin, even though I was adding an additional half can of pumpkin puree, and it was very flat. And then for the vanilla one, you're going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla, and for the chocolate, you'll add 2.5 tablespoons of cocoa. And finally, the pumpkin, you're also going to add in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice, and you could bring that up to 4 teaspoons of pumpkin spice. And what we also did with the pumpkin is we just put some cinnamon on top, and that helped make it more enjoyable too. So you'll see in my videos that I made this actually out of half a can of coconut milk for each one. And so I put them in smaller mason jars, but you're going to want to use a quart size jar if you're going and ahead and using the actual recipe that I did. I knew that, one, I didn't want to open up 3 cans of coconut milk, and 2, that would have just been way too much ice cream for my family to eat. So the size of what I'm using is not proper in the videos, but if you just follow the recipe I gave you, it is. And so step 1, put the canned coconut milk into a mason jar. Unlike some of the other recipes you might see online, you're going to use the entire canned coconut, so you might want it a little bit warmer so you can get it out. But it doesn't really matter if it's cold or warm. Step 2, I would mix all of the other ingredients like the sugar and the cocoa together for the chocolate one in a separate bowl and mix them together so that the cocoa mixes better. And then you're going to put them all in and mix them up together. They mix super easy. Cocoa can be hard to add to things like water, but it's much easier to add to coconut milk. And then really from there, you're just going to add it into the freezer, and every 30 minutes to an hour, depending on it, the earlier you do it, the more of an ice cream consistency you'll get. The less you do it, you might get a little bit more crystallization in there, but it's still going to taste really good, and it's still going to be a frozen treat. And you would just do this every 30 minutes to an hour for about 2 hours. That's how long it took in my freezer, whether I used the smaller jars or the quart-sized jars. And after 2 hours, it's ready to eat. You can just take it out, scoop it up, and put it into bowls. You're going to have to eat it a little bit faster and keep kind of mixing it, or it will fall apart. And I also checked and I kept one of them in the freezer overnight, and I opened it up the next day, put it on the counter for 30 minutes, and then mixed it around. You want to be careful if you're using a metal spoon. Once it's that hard, it can be really easy to use too much pressure and chip the side of the mason jar, which is something that I did. And so it might be easier to just completely wait till you can get it out of the mason jar, or wait until you can get that ice cream like consistency again. So my favorite was the chocolate. My fiance's was the vanilla, and we both didn't love the pumpkin, but that was because I forgot that because I was adding the extra puree, I needed to add extra sugar, and we also didn't add enough pumpkin spice, which I fixed in this recipe. But the actual flavor of it was still very good. We just didn't get enough sugar and spice in there, and I used too much pumpkin puree, which I also toned down in the recipe also. So something else that you can do, there are so many things. You could add in like a cup of espresso, and you would just want to add probably another tablespoon of sugar, and it may be more. You could add in two bananas into the vanilla recipe, and that's actually, I did that and it tasted delicious. I did everything the same. I just crushed up two bananas with a fork, threw them in, mixed it in, and that was actually the best one that I have ever had. And I didn't have to add additional sugar because the sugars in the banana were enough that it didn't matter. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you enjoy the kind of format that I did this time. If you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like and follow. Thanks for watching.